Hi guys, this is me Avi Dwivedi, and I'm the founder of Extended Reality Developers of India, and we are hosting this session today on All India Startups Group. And we on this group we have some amazing sessions, some amazing guests. So now we have none other than Vaibhav Chavan, and Vaibhav has some amazing portfolio. He has clients like Byju's, he has clients like ZTV, Angama, Colors, and he has worked more than 10 12 years in gaming industry. He has his company since 2011. He has worked with one of the first India's first gaming company called India Games, and there he started his journey. So today we are going to be discussing about gamification process. So we are really honored to have Vaibhav Chavan with us. Vaibhav, yes, please enlighten us about the subject.
Hey
Yeah.
guys, thank you Avi for inviting me. Uh, just a quick background before I get into the details. I started my career as a game designer back in 2007. This is where I used to work as a trainee for India Games, and then for 4 years I worked as a game producer for a few big companies, namely Games to Win, Hangama, Zapak. And in 2011, I started underDOGS, wherein the whole focus was to create games for different sectors in India. Because in 2011, there were not many companies out there. And there was a loophole. There was a big loophole where bigger companies had people, but they didn't have enough experience in smartphone game development, and that was one big question, and everybody wanted developers who were doing it. They were trying to outsource their work. They were trying to make their first mobile game and all that stuff, right? So my idea was to just get into that business. I started as a servicing company. So underdogs initially was a servicing company with a sole aim to service these bigger gaming companies. Initially, it was Flash, but then we moved on to mobile very quickly with Unity, because Unity was pretty new and it was free and people can use Unity at that time, right? It was just a learning phase for everybody in India. So we jumped onto that platform really well, very early compared to the other developers in India. And that is where now what we are doing is on B2B front, there are two main sectors. The first one is um, the non gamification part, wherein there are three subcategories. First are the bigger gaming companies who want to make their games. They don't do it in house, so they outsource their games to us. The second one are the movie production houses who want to make advert games, promotional games for their movies, so they come to us to make those games. The third are the digital agencies. Usually, every digital agency works with different brands. When they pitch something to brands, they usually pitch 360 to the brands, right? And uh, like for the last 4 5 years, what they started is pitching gaming as a part of digital to the brands. And when so gaming is just like 10% of their whole 360 plan that they pitch to the brands, but that is what they don't do in-house, and then they come to us to get that game done, and then they sell it to the brands. So these three categories come into non-gamification part. Why I say these are non-gamification, because there's a reason. These people come to us with a solution already, so they know what they want to make, right? The other category that I mentioned is gamification, wherein it's not just gaming companies, but majorly non-gaming companies who want to convert their boring processes or static processes into something very interesting, engaging, entertaining for their people, or for their consumers, or for only for their or the people that work for them, right? Like training purposes and all that stuff. So these non-gaming companies come to us with a problem, and that is where gamification starts, right? Because we have enough experience in gaming and the overall user experience and what to do, how to start with tackling the user behavior, and how do you exactly get people engaged in the game. There are a lot of metrics that usually fall in games, right? Like the KPIs, the retention, the engagement, the daily active users, and all that stuff. And these non-gaming companies, they really need that kind of metrics, and that is why they come to us with a problem, and we give them a solution. That is why the whole thing is gamification, right? So mainly two big chunks, non-gamification companies, which are already doing great, and they have a solution to their problems. They just come to us to get that done. And non-gaming companies who want to do gamification and they really don't know what the solution is, they come to us to develop that solution to their problem. And
That's amazing introduction, Vaibhav. So, want to dive deeper into what gamification process is and how a businessman can take advantage of this process and sort of incorporate this mechanism of gamification into their whatever the kind of engagement they are building is, and what kind of benefits or in terms of numbers we see when we try to incorporate that.
I mean, there are different purposes. Like gamification is is a very broad topic. There's no one solution to it. Um, every sector has different benefits from this one particular subject that we call as gamification. Right? I'll give you a few examples. We did something for CMA CGM. It's a huge import export container ship company, right? Wherein they used to transport goods for one company from one port to different port. And because it was a huge company, they had around 40,000 people, I think. And every 6 months, they used to hire 1,000 new trainees, right, from colleges, from campus interviews and all. But the problem with them was they used to take around 4 to 6 months to train these 1,000 people uh, about the whole process, right? Right from loading the containers to delivering it to the end point, right? Uh, that was the time frame was one big problem that they took 4 6 months. The second thing was it was very expensive for them. They used to these people did any mistake in like, just for an example, uh, there is some temperature that has to be taken care while putting goods in that one container, right? If they mess up that temperature while when the container reaches the end point, the goods are rotten, or because there were food items and there were a lot of elements that needed the temperature element to it. So they used to spend a lot of money. They used to waste a lot of money just to train these 1,000 people. And they came to us with this problem, and we developed a system for them. It was just a training simulator for them, wherein the whole process was taken care of within just one room. We just set up huge machines, good rendering machines in one setup inside the company. We built that whole simulation right from start to end. Also, we added some learning on interpersonal skills as well, wherein it was like a narrative thing where people had choices to speak right when they are dealing with people. That also analyzed how good employee you are, how good your decisions are when you're taking them while doing all this stuff, right? So we added that advantage as well. And then every trainee that they hired, they just sent them into that room for like 15 days, 10 to 15 days, and they used to train them through the whole process, right? First, their objective was to cut down the cost. The second thing was cut down on the number of days that used to take, right? I'm not saying that it was 100% correct. Like, people learned on that machine, that simulation, did the correct job at their actual work, but the probability of errors were decreased to a lot more percentage than what they had earlier, right? So this company had one of different this training purposes. Whenever training purposes are considered in gamification, there's a different purpose. uh, another thing we did for Mercedes had a very different purpose. So I'm saying gamification is very broad. Um, every sector or every category has different uses of it. I think if you're running a business and if you think having gamification done to your process or your stuff that you're doing would reduce efforts and would reduce cost, and mainly that's the agenda when people introduce gamification into normal processes which have been a part of the industry since many decades, right? And that's what people are taking advantage of right now.
That's some amazing insights. So by definition, if I go, it's more like applying the principles of play. We all love play. We all have scenarios of gaming. We have experienced gaming at several point of our lives, and we love to play. So when we try to apply the principles of gaming to the real world working scenarios, it's called gamification, and we have to identify the user behaviors which we want to appreciate, and then apply some sort of reward mechanism which is like a short term reward mechanism. So there are a lot more psychological studies which talk about how not having a short term goals could deviate person from being focused into work, and gamification targets this exact problem by providing this short term reward mechanisms in a certain way, and providing the various kind of structures, the design structures in various ways, and solve the problems of engagement. It makes the task more engaging for especially as you Vaibhav talk about the training processes. It makes the training so engaging that it becomes a game, and the whatever the user is, they feel more connected to this game, and then they learn things with fun. So that's the entire sort of goal of gamification. Vaibhav talks about a lot of areas it could be used, and there's no one solution fits all. So you have to, Vaibhav, come up with a very uniquely method which will fit that particular problem in a certain way. So let's talk about some of the design processes whenever you are handed over with such kind of problem where you have to come up with some sort of gamification solution. What are your design tools to come up with such sort of methods?
Just before we get into the process and everything, I just wanted to touch base on one of the examples, because you said something on the user behavior, right? And the rewards based on the behavior. We did, like 2 years back, we did something for an NGO, right? And this NGO had like a profit based scheme for their own employees. Like they used to do certain stuff and then they used to get rewarded out of it. But uh, that was just like a monthly or a quarterly thing that they used to do. What we did was we did this whole badge system on the digital front. So they had a dashboard which had all the badge system based on their work, right? And it drastically changed the mindset, because what happened was, when they used to perform, they used to enter that performance into their dashboards, and uh, people used to the biggest difference is people used to see that within the organization. And there's usually this there's your profile, there's your name, and there's the badge that you owned. It's just like game.
And 2 lakh फैसिलिटी clarify पूरी हद तक और भी टाइम से
Hello.
Yeah, Weber, please go on.
Yeah, so it just drastically changed the mindset of people, because people will love to be socially appreciated, right? And that's what like I recently met the founder of that NGO like 2 years later when we did this. And he analyzed the the difference between what used to happen earlier and what is happening right now, and how motivated these people are because of this badge system and stuff, right? So I think it you mentioned it very correctly. It gives goals, it gives ambitions, when you do that kind of stuff in a boring process, right? uh, just to move ahead with the tools, it's again, it's really based on what um, is a solution towards a problem. Majorly, it's majorly we used to have conversations a lot with the people who are using it, right? And analyzing the behaviors with basic test products. Analytics play a very important role while doing that, and it's just the test prototypes that we built first and then analyzed it within the set of people. We usually do it within focus group, right? And then analyzing the patterns of what they're doing, how they're doing, and stuff like that. We used to iterate and build those things. But again, it's like I can't tell you the exact process. I can't mention an exact process because there's no a structured process for this. It usually depends on what solution you are building.
Totally got it. So, Vaibhav, when we are talking about gamification, it's not a new process. Almost every major company uses this process in certain ways to make us buy more product, to or in some cases, sort of tasks which are like very boring, and make it a fun task to get us more engaged. So a lot of applications are using it. Whether we talk about Paytm, whether we talk about even Swiggy is using that. In any kind of payment system, you pay and you get reward points. So credit card companies use this gamification models to make the payment more fun, right? And everything. So some of the can you mention some of the famous use cases or famous applications you can think of right now, where we can reference more towards gamification, and how it could directly help businesses gain more in terms of number, in terms of their targets, or making the customer more engaged. Of course, the mean of marketing is getting more people, but gamification help us retaining more people into the system.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I just wanted to you know say it's not about getting users, it's about retaining users. It's more about having that super engaging super engagement that you need. uh, Getting users is just a basic marketing that people do, right? Like, just for an example, I'll give a very simple example that we use on a daily basis, right? If you order something from Swiggy, or Domino's was doing it for a very long period of time, but if you order something from Swiggy, they just it's people tend to keep their phones on to just check what's happening with their order, right? Right from the order getting prepared to reaching it to the delivery guy, and then he's traveling, and it also mentions where exactly he is and all that stuff, right? I think um, it's more about getting people engaged into that stuff and getting them used to the whole system, so that they can consistently use it. Getting more users is just a basic strategy that everybody is doing in every different domains. Not It's not just about games or any applications or any businesses. It's more important. Why? Because it's digital, right? And digital scenarios need engagements, otherwise it's not going to work.
Totally get it. So yeah, we see these examples on daily basis, that how Swiggy uses a lot of animations and uses a lot of engagement in their apps, and there are so many good examples of this, especially in education sector. I can see how Byju's, and especially since I'm in the virtual reality field, I see this all the time, that how the task which used to considered like traditional tasks. And if you, even if we talk about let's say cooking, a lot of there are so many games being built on cooking which teach you how to cook thing, and they give you the entire ingredient, and you can learn cooking the actual meal in virtual reality in certain ways, and it teaches you, but also you do it in a fun way. And of course all that. So let's talk about progression. Whenever we are building gamification, there is a very important tool called progression, and it basically give us the staircase in which you are climbing one step at a time. And it's basically gives you the kind of fundamental, and it give you the sense of growth inside one system. So you keep on growing, you keep on learning, you keep on learning new tricks, and using those tricks build upon the other cases. I guess you know it much more, because in any game you would have used it. So let's talk about some of the progression tricks and how companies use these tricks. Like if even we talk about the Google Pay, whenever you pay to someone, if it unlocks a reward, and that's how it keep us in more engagement of paying more, and involved more in and paying more bills with Google Pay and everything. So yeah, let's talk about the progression system which we can build into applications and businesses, which help us retain more users.
I think one of the crucial things in progression is the time frame, right? And uh, that is something that the people focus a lot on when they try to build a progression. Just for an example, even if you played Candy Crush, right? uh, they they give you certain hearts, and if you lose those hearts, they don't leave you there. They still give you a chance to have those hearts, but then you have to wait for certain period of time, and that is how they bring the
तो
user
दिया
back.
यार
When
कोको.
what you do is you just switch off the game and you go back, right? But right at that moment when you get that heart in the background, you're sent a notification to come back to the game. Just a simple example, but we have unknowingly done that a lot of times. Another example, like you mentioned, Google Play, right? When they give you these rewards, 5 out of 10 rewards are time based. As in you get that scratch card, right? We get that scratch card, and then some of those cards only unlock after that particular time, say 10 days later, or stuff like that, right? So I think in progression systems, apart from the basic stuff that you do, wherein you just um, focus in giving a goal or an ambition to the user, so that he can climb that ladder step by step. Apart from that, time frame is one of the crucial element that I feel is very much important to create a great engagement. And that is where a lot of companies, when they try and design the gamification part, they tend to implement this one element, wherein people definitely remember that one element that you give them, a reward or anything that you give them on that, and they have to unlock that on that particular day. They they just come back to that day to get it done, right? And that's a common user behavior which people focus on. So I think progression system, apart from this basic stuff, time, I think, is very, very, very crucial.
Absolutely. The time variant is fundamental to the progressions we can build in the systems. So, if anybody has any questions regarding gamifications, please shoot it, and Vaibhav will be able to answer it. Guys, please ask your questions. Vaibhav is here with us. He is sharing some amazing insights about the gamification processes, and he has a great amount of experience with that. So, yeah. All right, guys, you can come up on stage and ask about gamification and how you can apply gamification. If you have questions regarding your particular solution or some sort of industry specific question, and you want to ask in that regard, you can definitely ask it. I'm going to ask you one question, which is like somewhere similar to my industry. Uh, we deal with a lot of edtech products these days. So talking about edtech, and they require the most amount of gamification, as you can assume, since we are dealing with child and human behavior on child psychology and everything. In that cases, what are the some good suggestions on gamification tools which we can often look into when we are building simulations for kids?
See, with edtech is completely different. We like I remember we worked with Lido, right? One a platform that is right now becoming very popular in learning. Where we worked with Lido at a very early stage, and we were doing consultancy for Lido, not exactly designing the features and psychological, people who had a background in psychology, right? And we did almost around when we were a part of it, we did almost 20 to 30 sessions with the kids themselves to understand the problems and to understand and how we can better things. And it was like a consistent iteration that we used to do with these people, and then design things on paper, then jot down things, and then eventually coming up with this whole progression system where we can engage these people. For me, the only experience with tech
Like
was
Laura
about
said, we
just just going out there with the kids and understanding their way of working.
That's interesting. So we have to sort of observe kids and how they basically learn, and based on that, we can come up with the mechanics of how we can incorporate some gamification processes, or come up with the task which encourage some sort of learning behavior, and come up with some sort of progressions and an scoring system which basically can help students learn more with the uh, so how good are, let's say, how good are quizzes when we are talking about educational, and what could be the better way to incorporate these quizzes in learning apps, Vaibhav?
They definitely work. I mean, every big platform that you see has these kind of smaller engaging stuff. Quizzes and puzzles mainly play a very important role as a filler to their whole system, wherein you do certain very small puzzle kind of a task, and then you get rewarded for that. It's not definitely the primary element of that overall system for that particular edtech setup, but it definitely acts as fillers. And they've been a part of almost every platform that you see right now, which is like quite popular. Right. And going back to this, observing things, right? Observing things and what people are doing. This is like a basic that in games, even you might be aware, in games, right? What we do is this basic principle that we call as play testing, right? Where we just use over the phone, iPad to the user, and stand behind the user to analyze what he's doing, without even mentioning what to do in the game or the app. We just used to observe what he's doing and just noting it down, and then go and iterate on the drawing board, and then figuring out what has to be done. So I think that basic principle works on, I think, almost all the systems, uh, whatever you design when it comes to user behavior. So yeah, that's something is pretty interesting, pretty fun to work with. But again, coming back to the puzzles and stuff, I really think that they are important to fill the gaps within the system.
That is interesting, but yes, again, we have to be careful as well that how much percentage of puzzles, and as you already said, these are fillers, but we don't have to overdo with it, or make the otherwise it will again become boring. So of course the major part is, as you already mentioned, the simulation itself, and then fillers are there as a quiz to make it more engaging. Thank you, Vaibhav. It's a very amazing perspective. So, if anybody has any questions, especially I guess people who are into the businesses would love to ask about how they can incorporate some sort of gamification processes in their businesses. So, please shoot up the questions, and we are willing to take them.
Hi, V. I'm here to share my experiences with the gamification in the past. I've had opportunities to implement the gamification in the products we develop. So I'm happy to answer any questions people may have, but I would also like to shed some light on different frameworks which are out there, which companies, big organizations usually use when it comes to gamification, because I sensed that you were trying to get to this process which is behind the gamification, or are there any frameworks which people can really use to implement gamification in their products, in their experiences? So yes, the answer is yes, that there are frameworks which can be used to implement the gamification. But before that, I think we need to understand what gamification really is. It's we know that it is driven from the game mechanics, and we have been playing games ever since we were children. Now, the reason why we love games is because of the core behaviors, the core human behaviors, the user behaviors that it touches upon. The rewards you are talking about, the progression and things like that. This is all driven from a framework which has been present, which has been around for a while now, and it's called Octalus's gamification framework. It's got 8 core drivers. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but many organizations like Facebook and other big players have looked upon this framework for their experiences, and it's got all the important elements. When we speak of the 8 core behaviors or 8 core drivers, they are directly linked to the human behavior. So, scarcity, for example, is one of them, as we were discussing before, or accomplishment is another core behavior. There is meaning, there is social proof. There are many such behaviors which are part of that framework. So if you want to implement a gamification framework for your solution, be it in education industry, healthcare, whatever industry that is, if you look at that framework, you will be able to get the sense as to what are those factors, what are those areas you need to focus on if you want to implement the gamification. But the main thing is that I've seen people falling in this trap. People think that, okay, they want to improve the experience of their product, they focus on gamification, but it should be other way around. It should be, as Weber was also touching upon earlier, that you should be focusing on your UX outcome, the experience, the goal of the experience you have for the user, and then leverage gamification rather than focusing on gamification and then working out your experience around it. That's not the right approach. So I just want to start sharing some of the thoughts that I have on gamification, but happy to answer or take any questions people may have.
Hey, hi, this is Murli here. See, I just joined like a few minutes ago. I think a lot of conversation that I heard was related to product and product-led gamification. You guys can shed some light in terms of how gamification works in driving high-performance teams? I'm asking this because I'm now like moving on as a COO in a startup which is 160 member team. Just want to understand how gamification can drive performance of teams. What are things which works? What are things which doesn't work?
So if I may share my experience, we have had products and services, and obviously it can be applied to anything because the core behaviors do not change really. So if it is all about changing the user behavior. Now, the way we have done it in the past is, for example, we had an app which was actually on the behavior change. If you want to change a behavior in the corporate setting, then you can use that app, and that app helps you. It works as a coach to you and helps you change behavior over a period of time. Now, the time comes when the users may sometimes be bored of using a particular product. So, just to bring that excitement, just to improve your engagement of the user, we're bringing these game mechanics. So what we did was we had used this gamification concept for a progression which was very similar to scaling peaks. So metaphorically, you would see that as you are accomplishing the tasks in that app, you are getting certain miles for that. You can see that the peaks you are on, and you can select your own peaks, and then when you are using the app, different features of the app, for using different features, you are getting different miles, and you can track your progress anytime going into that space within the product. Okay, how much you have scaled that particular peak, and you can go about scaling those peaks. There is a social um, element to that also, that you can see your friends, your colleagues, which peaks they are on, how much have they scaled, how far or ahead you are from them on different peaks. So that is one of the concepts that we had implemented in the past. Similarly, you have to understand your audience, whom you are designing the experience for, and then bring gamification, depending on if your audience is, let's say, C-level executives or any top leadership people. What really motivates them, you have to first understand that before bringing in game mechanics. Or if your users are young people, or you really have to understand the audience first, and having that basic understanding or better understanding of the audience will help you design those game mechanics in a manner which will increase engagement for them.
I uh, I totally agree with Rohit. I think it's very important to understand the audience, because there is a very thin line when you try doing gamification within an organization to increase the productivity. Right? What happens with users is the people who are at a very senior level, they are not much interested in engaging in external apps. To get that kind of recognition or reward system around it, whereas the younger crowd, they they get addicted to that stuff. So you have to, like, it has to be in the middle also. Because what happens is people should not spend a lot of time on that also, right? um, just for an example, if you have if you let's say you develop an internal system which just tracks, uh, be it a simple dashboard on web, or like an app, right, which tracks their performances, and then there are rewards based on that, and there is a ladder that every employee should be interested in climbing, and all this stuff. It should be as simple as, like, spending 2 minutes 3 minutes on that, because sometimes, like, some companies have messed this up earlier, with making it super engaging, that people ended up spending a lot more time on the app rather than working on and improving their productivity. So there's a thin line, and yeah, I agree to Rohit that it has to, like, you have to understand the audience first before moving on.
Yeah, I think Rahul, Murli again here, you spoke about motivations, right? I think very, very interesting topic. So you are recommending that you start looking at, put all these things together, is looking at what is the outcome you want to drive, and then you have to look into the audience and see what could be the real motivations for them to do, and then design a game that could work for them. Is that a good summary that you guys are saying now, or is it some different way to articulate this?
Um, See, Murli, in the essence, that's what it is all about.
Okay.
It's all about improving the experience. Now, whether you do it by implementing gamification or not implementing gamification, that is fine. It's not mandatory to implement gamification. Your goal should be to improve the engagement, to improve the experience for your users, correct? You're trying to make
No,
their
no, I'm
situation better.
slightly
Yeah.
different, right? Because it is in a way correct, but what I'm saying is I want to bring about change management. See, I'm running teams, right? The teams change management happens. Like, for example, we have been doing certain things in certain ways, and we need to change it. So, how do I gamify for the change management was a question, not specifically in terms of user engagement. Of course, it's a better user experience, or it should be better outcome for them to even participate in the change that we're suggesting.
Okay, understood. Thanks for the context. Now that you're talking about the change management, that brings in a very important point, which I was making before, and that is the app we created for changing the behavior was also part of change management. Now, understand how change management happens in the organizations. When there is a merger, for instance, there are two companies merging and there are employees from each company who will be working together. So you would want people to imbibe new behaviors in that new working space. Secondly, it could be an organization change within a certain function, and you would want those people to again learn new behaviors in order to be successful or more adaptive to this new way of working in this new business unit. So there's always this need of helping people change their behavior, and that's what change enablement is all about. Now, you need to understand what are those behaviors, first of all, that you want people to change in that. And first of all, what is the context? What is the situation wherein you want people to change the behavior? When you have the better understanding of what motivations or what are those things, what are the goals, and how would you be able to motivate those users to change their behavior, then you will be able to bring in the game mechanics. Okay, when you'll better understand their situations. For instance, you would want people in this new setting, you would want people to contribute more, right? Because it's all about mindset. Now, let's say the two teams have merged in one, and there you would want to increase the interaction between the people. So you would think of an experience. It could be offline, it could be online, doesn't matter, whatever you're planning to design. But your focus is to increase the interaction between the people. Now you would bring in those game mechanics, which would help change that behavior, enable that behavior for your users. So that's the example I'm giving. It's all about change management.
Understood. Thanks, that was helpful.
Now, there's another thing that you may want to keep in mind when it comes to behavior change. It's not that simple. We know it takes. I mean, there are different theories. We all know that some theories suggest that it takes 21 days to build a behavior. Some theories suggest it takes 66 days to build a behavior. But those different theories are based on different reasonings and different context. But the idea behind this is practice. If you want to really build a new behavior, you need to practice that behavior on daily basis with least amount of effort. As we were discussing before, that you should not make your users go through a complex journey in the first place. They would not sort of like the complexity in the experience at the very first place. So you have to make sure that when you want people to have new behaviors, you have to start with very tiny habits, very tiny actions that they can take and feel that they have accomplished something. And then over the period of time, you can increase the complexity. So you have to start small, you have to start easy, and then build on it. That is the principle when it comes to increasing the engagement or changing the behavior of the people through gamification.
That is really interesting. I get to learn so many new things from Rohit and Vaibhav here. One more question I'm getting from a user, that when we are, let's say, he mentioned that when we want to encouraging some sort of sales through gamification, it's a very direct question. So, what kind of behavior which you could design over in the product itself? And he mentioned sales of virtual good next back channel chat.
Yeah, see, now in sales, you would see these concepts being used a lot because every company wants to increase their sales, everybody wants to increase their revenue and profits and things like that. But now, there also, you have to understand the core behaviors of your users whom you are selling these virtual products or whatever that is. It could be number of calls that you want your executives to make, or it could be number of prospects that they have to reach out to in terms of converting them into leads and then hoping that they convert into clients. So there are different objectives a business may have. First, understand those business objectives, that what is it that you're trying to achieve. Now, to achieve those objectives, what are those actions that you want your users to take? And how can you empower your users to take those actions to a level where you feel that you are getting some success out of it? Okay, so having that basic understanding is important as to what is it that we are trying to achieve and who these people are, what again would really motivate them, as we were talking before. And then you can see that what could be those areas where we can be better. And I'll bring this Octalysis framework again because it's very, very useful. And you would see the examples of Twitter, Facebook, how they have used this Octalysis framework in their experience, how they have got such huge user engagement. You have to see out of these 8 core behaviors, what are the drivers you want to focus on? Is it something, if through scarcity, because in sales you would see the scarcity element a lot, that if you don't buy this thing now, it will not it will no longer be available. And you also tell the user at the same time that these are the people from your cohort or from your community who have already bought this. So you are bringing those mechanics based on the core behaviors that you want to change of your user. So you need to identify that first, that what will be those behaviors that will motivate your user, or that will change the mentality of user, and sort of help them take an action in those given moments.
Fantastic. I would like to go over the 8 core drivers as you mentioned, Rohit. Would love to briefly explain those because it's a subject that not everybody knows about. First driver which we talk about is basically the definition, the narrative is set around the subject. The second driver could be considered as the accomplishments. We can provide some sort of progress bar, some sort of collectibles or something, which give us some sort of progression. We can talk about how we can empower, or how we can give some sort of feedbacks to whoever the player or whoever our customer is, in which we are talking about the very visuals or the very effect that you did something and something happened. The more interactivity engages. We can also talk about that how social influences differentiate the experiences, especially whenever you are doing something with your friends, whether you know somebody and the trust gains immediately. So that's how the social engagement made it more. You can share the things with somebody, and that's how you can gain more. Like all you know about the sharing rewards you get on cred or any other application. It's a part of that. There is some sort of ownership which is involved, which is like the fifth point I would like to add, that you can collect something and you can store it in your inventory. So that some sort of inventory function which could help us building these gamification tools. There is some sort of scarcity, like you Rohit just talked about. So like this offer is there, but for immediate for an hour, or for 15 minutes or something, or by today. So that sorts of scarcity we can apply, so that we can sell more, as you already mentioned in that how to improve selling using gamification techniques of virtual goods. There's always should be some sort of curiosity, which is the seventh point I would like to talk about. Curiosity means we always have something new to explore. It's not like repeating itself after some point again and again. There is always something new which kept us engaging with the very application. Then finally we can talk about how the very stake of losing something, that okay, if you didn't qualify, you can also lose some sort of opportunity, or you can also have some sort of stake, that 5 point will be less. That makes the minus rewards makes it more engaging. So that these are the eight core fundamentals of core drivers of gamification, which we Rohit were talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Avi, for bringing that up. That may add some context. And I would encourage everybody to Google it and be able to see these eight behaviors, these drivers, which will be very important for you. But I feel that out of these eight, the most important one is the meaning, because when we speak of the meaning, which Avi was mentioned as a narrative, that is one co-driver which is often overlooked at. We look at all the other drivers like these rewards and social proof and others, but they may all be very not very useful if you have not really looked at the meaning part. And by meaning, I mean, what is it that the user, why basically should the user be using your product? What is the value at the end of the day they are getting, and how is it improving their life? How is this product or service improving their life at the end of the day? That is very important to understand. Now, if you look at, and it doesn't have to always align with the reward system. For example, if you look at Wikipedia, the reason why people go there without expectation of any reward, but just to add their knowledge, just to share that knowledge with the entire world, is to help people around. There's no other incentive for them. They are not getting paid for that or anything. But people are going there just to help the people around. So you need to understand that if you're doing something for someone, how are you helping them believe that they are doing this to help the society, to help the other people around them? And that's where the meaning becomes very important. So you have to understand that whatever your thing that you're designing, how is that thing going to help your users to help other people, apart from helping themselves, of course? But how are they adding value to other people? So, what is that meaning, what is that drive, which will motivate them to use your product and feel the purpose on, see that meaning in that. So that is highly important. I just want to wanted to bring that up.
Thanks for highlighting, Rohit. So, if anybody has any more questions regarding gamification, please shoot up. We have Vaibhav, we have Rohit, and we can answer pretty much all sort of questions regarding gamification today. So, yeah, if any queries are there, let me know. Come up on stage. We'll talk more on gamification.
Hey, hi, Avi. How's it going?
Doing really well, Rajiv.
Yeah. Avi, I meant to connect with you. I couldn't. I'd like to connect with you again for the AR, VR related things, at least the hyper reality AR. We have a project in mind for ISRO, actually, and they needed some marketing project to be done with the AR. So I would like to discuss with you later sometimes.
Yeah,
And I do
please
have a question.
drop a back channel and I'll connect
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah,
It would be
definitely.
awesome if you
100%.
could mention the email as well. I'll connect back shortly.
For sure, for sure. And the question that I have is like, we are a upcoming clothing brand in India. We have got state award as well as recognition from all India, like Ministry of Tourism and stuff. We are the first company to collaborate with ISRO to make official ISRO merchandise. And we want to convert ISRO into a style statement and a fashion statement. We are working towards it, but we wanted to get that into gamification and also both gamers as well as within the game. What are the opportunities that we can do? I mean, we can look into so that we can get our clothing brand designs into actual game characters at the same time. Like, for example, how to do the, like, get some elements into Fortnite or any kind of game out there. What are the opportunities that we have at the same time, like, for the gamers, how can I reach out to gaming community? Is there a place where I can put these things especially Indian gaming community? Is there a place where I can put this message?
Yeah, I guess Vaibhav is the very good person to answer this. He is one of the very key guy to get into connect with Indian gaming community. Vaibhav, also I guess Vaibhav, you can also mention IGDC. IGDC is coming up, and there is also you can find more good people in Indian gaming community.
Sure, sure. Hi, Rajiv. See, like there are a lot more opportunities to utilize your brand and get to people. Uh, recently we were speaking to one of the clients in India. It's a huge company, just can't name it, but it's a huge company, and it's getting what they are doing is they have a clothing brand. They have uh, they have an influencer platform under their portfolio, and they have a gaming business. So what they have done is they have created a combination of all those three things. There is a very popular game called COVID Fashion. I think it's very popular in West. What they have done is they have combined all these three things together, wherein they created a dress up game, uh, wherein people can use their store to buy dresses, and the same dresses can be replicated in the game. They and for this particular game, it's not a game. It's like a daily game where there is a daily challenge where you have to dress up daily on one particular topic that uh, is notified. When you have that app or a game downloaded, you'll get a notification every day saying that you have to dress up for a party. And you just have to, like, they have connected it in such a way that you eventually can buy that exact same dress that you see in the game on their own store. uh, on Even before that, this whole thing is narrated by an influencer or a gaming character or a game influencer who is using that particular thing. So it's like, this is like a very out of the box idea that they have created recently. But just one thought on what you can do. Like, there are a lot more things that you can do with the Indian gaming companies getting involved into this, having those characters use the clothing and everything. um, but again, to start with, it is very important for you to understand the audience, right? And I'm sure you have done that already, while you having this goal of getting huge into this. Um Again, like, just the IGDC thing, I just wanted to mention. IGDC is India Game Developer Conference, is India's biggest game development conference. It's one of the biggest event in gaming, where you will see almost everybody uh, who is in gaming industry under that one roof. There are around 5,000 to 8,000 people attending this event every year. It's usually physical. It is in Hyderabad from 16 to 18 November, but this year it's virtual, so you can attend that. You can talk to a lot of gaming companies there, just to get a gist of how to start with, because all of them are doing great, and they're working with different kind of um, companies, gaming, non-gaming companies, too, in gamification space as well. So you can just connect with these people over there. So anybody and everybody who is interested in gaming, I think, even if you are an aspiring game developer, you want to become a game developer, or anybody in gaming industry, I think this event is a must go event. And it's free, so there's no tickets to this event.
So it IGDC, we will be connecting with the game developers, right? Is it?
Yeah, the every like every category of game developers, right from bigger companies to freelance developers.
Ah. Okay. So
S-
the
and then a part of it are the gamers as well. So you see these gamers who are streaming games in India, right? Who are very popular right now. So IGDC is a part of India Joy, which is like a similar event to China Joy, where there are a lot of influencers coming on board, and they have their audience joining in as well.
oh, wonderful, wonderful. No, yeah, I'm still figuring out. I think Vaibhav, I have sent you a message if I could have a conversation separately because I don't want to take up the room's time.
Sure.
That's yeah. I do have several questions, but I'll collect my thoughts together in case if I come across one more question which can be quick and also useful for the room. I'll ask. I'll stay here for a few more minutes. Thanks.
Thanks, Rajiv. So, do we have any more questions here?
I think we don't have anybody else in the PTR order, so Rajiv can go ahead and ask his question in the meantime, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not collecting any questions now. So, Rajiv, you can go ahead with the question.
So one more question is that we are working on an NFT project as well. I think Avik, you can help me out to understand this. We are mainly our clothing brand, right? The idea that we have want to execute within next 2 months is that we want to convert our clothing brand also AR/VR enabled, where we have yeah, Instagram filters. It's just what we our expectation is. Like we have Instagram filters which will animate some of our ISRO related T-shirts. Like if I point out my Instagram towards ISRO related T-shirt, that animates some kind of thing in front of customers where they can enjoy those elements. How can we do that? And what should be my process? And where should I start?
Yeah, if you want to do it in-house, uh, I have did a series on virtual reality and augmented reality. In the seventh episode of that series, I talked about Instagram and Facebook filters. I gave in a free way to create the filters using something called Spark AR. So Spark AR is a Facebook tool which allows you to create such experiences, and within the tool you can also publish those experiences with whatever the your company's Instagram account is. You just log in that and publish the upload the experience. It takes approval time and it finally gets published. If you want our help to build the product, we can also come and discuss that as well. So we have built a lot of good filters. I'll share some portfolio there as well.
Oh, for sure. We do, as I
I'll
told you, we're trying to
Yeah.
do that as soon as possible, at least to a level where we can demo it.
Uh-huh.
We are
Okay.
very fortunate that we got selected to the final round of Shark Tank India. But the thing is, we don't know whether we'll go to the TV or not because their explanation is there is a person called Sagar. They have we have cleared all the rounds, but they will do the shooting. Whatever is interesting, that will go into the live TV. So there is a filter there also. But if we can achieve this AR/VR thing and then do that in front of the TV audience and also when they are doing the shooting, would really help us to make sure that we go to the TV and get telecasted. That will trigger a lot of marketing activity and also
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
our video
There
get
is
clipped into YouTube.
there is a very small challenge, I would say, in this to get the correct animation for the correct t-shirt. So let's say you have a line of a 4 to 5 t-shirt, to link it to the correct t-shirt. Whenever you go on Instagram, and how to find the correct filter for this. So we have a solution for this. We'll discuss this there, and I'll
Cool.
also share you the series where I talked about the Instagram filters more.
Oh, really nice, really nice. And Vaibhav, for you, a question is there a database or a particular consultant who can help us to reach out to, especially gamers like like top 20 streamers in India who are into gaming and also fashion? Is there somebody that we can reach out to, or is there some place where you guys are like a Discord channel where you all of you guys are like a community or something like that?
Yeah, first of all, Raju, congratulations. It's like pretty
Oh, thank you.
good
Uh,
stuff with
yeah,
what
we're just a start. We are still working towards it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no one specific place or link that I can give you, but just ping me. I can definitely help you with the gaming influencers part. Uh, I'm not sure if I can do that with the fashion guys, but I'm sure that I can link you to people who can connect you to the gaming influencers, the top gaming influencers.
Ah, that's wonderful. Thank you. And what is happening with Indian game developers? Like, are we at a level where we can create that another IGN or Epic Games or something like that? Do we have any scope that India can develop such kind of games?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. See, what is happening is India's India's grown very rapidly in terms of game development. Considering the West, we're still say 4 5 years behind them, but we are definitely going to that stage where there's going to be AAA games like bigger games like Red Dead Redemption and all those games can come out of India with good amount of support from the venture capitalists as well. So 10 years was happening was there was just a wave of independent development, right? I think around 2014-15 there was just a few handful of independent developers having like a 2 3 people teams who are making games which went to the global market, and they really did well. We had one of our game called Skatelander which did amazing, and along with us there were 7 8 good developers, and all of us now have very established studios, right? So it took us around 7 8 years to get to that this stage where we are building a sustainable business in gaming, right, which was not a part 5 6 years back. Also 2 years back what has happened is there are a lot of venture capitalists who are betting on the Indian gaming scene. We see people like Lumikai, we see people like Sequoia investing in Indian gaming companies, believing in these companies, right? There also this year there are a lot of acquisitions happening from India, right? There's something called Play Simple, which got acquired for 360 million, right? Crafton investing, Crafton, which is the publisher of PUBG, investing in a lot of Indian gaming companies. Nazara getting to the IPO level where it's just acquiring, good traction based Indian companies. All this is a great sign that people have now started believing that gaming is a huge thing in India and can dominate the market in the coming years, right? Uh, and that wave, which was about mobile games back in 2014-15, has now evolved to like there's a new bunch of independent developers, but now they're not working on mobile specifically, but they're working on PC and console games, right? So I think 4 5 years later, I mean, will take some time, but we are at a level where uh, we are doing really good in terms of game development. Mobile, I think, will top the charts definitely because of the sheer amount of audience that we have in India. Mobile would be one of the biggest market for India. But PC is also, for PC, we all hope that there will be good games that can, beat the Western quality, on the PlayStation and Xbox along with Steam. Given the games like Raji, if you heard Raji that came out last year, right? It was quite successful from India, and seeing that there are a lot of new game development companies who are experimenting with these games. Also, India is one country with very rich cultural and mythological, cultural, or say religious backgrounds with millions of stories that can be told, and that is something that a lot of studios are experimenting at this stage, and we'll definitely see something huge in next 5 years.
That is cool. I think you must have come across this new game in China which came out. It's what is that called? It's like
Shima.
monkey.
No, okay. I just forgot the name. They recently launched the trailer.
Not trailer, the gameplay is also out there, and I guess the game has been a really big hit, where a journey of a fighter, monkey fighter who was going with a shaft. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah. The gameplay trailer is released.
Yeah, that is like a artificial intelligence infused Unreal this thing what is that called? Unreal game developer tool, right? I'm not sure about much of the technical details towards it,
Yeah,
but
it's
that
called
they use Unreal
yeah. I think
engine.
it's called Black Myth
Yeah,
Wukong.
that's correct. That's
Yeah,
correct. So,
it's an Unreal
do we
game.
have anybody in that scale? Do we have anybody who is like working towards any team working towards such kind of epic feat? Oh,
We have 4 5 different studios who are working on this quality of games right now.
wonderful,
And
wonderful.
Unreal, the engine, right? The engine that you mentioned in which this game is made, and a lot of
Yeah.
other successful games, they have, they are now coming and supporting Indian developers. So they are
Oh,
providing, yeah, they are providing Unreal grants. That something called as mega grant from Unreal, which is like 60 to $100,000 that they help. It's like a grant. If your pitch is good, if your game pitch is good, and if you can share a trailer video and your vision for the game, and if they like it, I think it takes you around 6 to 7 months to get that grant. But it's a huge grant for somebody working independent, right? It's around $100,000.
oh, wonderful. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. That's pretty much it from my side.
Thank you, Rajiv. Rushi is here. Rushi, if you have any questions regarding gamification, please ask.
Yeah, hi. Uh, like
You're in
clearly.
network.
I don't know.
Hi, Rishi.
Yeah. I mean, questions, but have the requirement that
Your
I
voice is
work
like
with
really
the
breaking.
company.
Hello. Rishi, your voice is really breaking.
One
It's
second, one
not
second.
audible at all. I guess there's a network issue. Amir, do you want to go next and talk about gamification? Okay, I guess we have spent great amount of time on this. Uh,
Hello.
Rishi is back. Hi, Rishi. Yeah, please. Now
Yeah,
it's
hi.
better.
Yeah. So I work at a company called Indigo Pre-Media, and we are into outsourcing. So we we look for opportunities where in the developing countries like UK and US. If the creative agencies which are into publishing, branding, and whatnot, uh, even development of sorts, who are looking to outsource their work into India, since the labor is cheap and the quality of the labor is high. So we have a requirement for developers who are dealing with Unreal and Unreal platform and the Unity platform. So if you, I mean, since you guys were talking about Unreal, So I just thought if I could ask you guys if you know someone in India.
Yeah, I guess Vaibhav and me both are into this, so you can ask your query regarding Unreal and Unity.
So I don't have query. I mean, I have a requirement, but then
Yes.
I don't have like details about the requirement as of now. But definitely, I can get in touch with you guys, and like maybe something can happen on this front.
Yeah, yeah, Rishi. Please connect with me. I can, like, whenever you have this requirement ready, either we can take it ahead, or I can connect you with people that we know.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. So yeah, I'll message you at the back channel.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
That is amazing. If anybody else has any questions, we can take it. Otherwise, yes, it's been long, and we can wrap up the session. Any questions, guys? All right. So I don't have any questions. If you still have any questions left, please message me, or you can message Vaibhav as well in the back channel. And if you want to connect with Vaibhav, please send him your email as well on the back channel. We'll get back to you. Okay, awesome. Vaibhav, thanks for coming on the on this podcast
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
All India Startups today, and we discussed a lot of cool things about gamification. A lot of information exchange has been there with Rohit as well, with you and uh, a lot of great members of the community. So we discussed a lot of things, and thanks for being on here.
Thanks, Avi. Thanks for inviting.
Yeah, it's always an honor. It's always a pleasure hosting Vaibhav. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Thanks for your support, and we'll definitely come up with some related sessions to XR and gaming next week as well. And thank you, Above. Thank you finally for being here. Have a great time, and definitely we'll connect back to you whenever we get any queries related to gamification or game-related businesses. You are our contact for that.
Sure, Avi. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye bye.